So let's go to comeback player of the year. I'm interested to know what you have. I don't know if mine necessarily fits comeback player of the year, but what do you have, Mark?
I have Juan Thornhill as the
Yeah.
comeback player of the year, just because he went down in week 17. So he didn't miss much of the season last year, but just being able to come off the ACL injury in a pandemic season, being able to play in all 16 games. I know they rest a lot of guys in
Hmm.
week 17, but he was one of maybe a handful of guys who played in every game this year on the defensive side of the ball. And that was just really incredible to see, because I know he was a step slower this year. He wasn't quite as aggressive as he was last year in his rookie season,
Yeah.
but just being able to go out there and play in every game, get back into game shape, I guess is what people like to say. So since he didn't have any of the preseason stuff, it probably took him a little bit to get back into it. But I think next season, I think he's going to have. I wrote those second year jump articles before the
Hmm.
season started, and I think he's going to have a nice third year jump, because the second year jump was a little bit thrown off with the pandemic and the
That's true.
injury. But I think that we can look at him to have a great third season next year. So comeback player of the year for me, Juan Thornhill.
I thought that that was a pretty easy selection. So I started to try to kind of think outside the box because I didn't want us to have the same four in a row, right? I wanted
Yeah.
us to have a little bit of variety here. So I went with Eric Fisher. Eric Fisher isn't a guy who was necessarily hurt and came back. I think it's interesting to think about him from the point of there were a lot of murmurs when the season started about him being cut, him saving cap
Mhm.
room, and he comes out and plays extremely well. A top 10 tackle in the league, according to PFF. I think that he's played his way into, staying around, sticking around for next season and not being a cap casualty. And I've been really pleased with Eric Fisher. The dude catches a whole lot of crap. He does more than he probably deserves. He's a solid tackle in this league. And really, the Chiefs are spoiled when it comes to their tackles. Mitchell Schwartz, when healthy, is a top 10 tackle as well. So you got some solid tackles on the offensive line. But Eric Fisher, I think, deserves more credit than he gets because the dude's the number one overall pick. People forget about that in that 2013 draft, and he's played well, I think, this season.
I love the pick, honestly. He is one of the more underrated players, I feel like, on the
Hmm.
Chiefs, because like you said, that was the year when the Chiefs had no options at the top of the draft to get like a good quarterback, one of the
Hmm.
that's their one year that they could have done something great with that, and there was nothing. So I'm really glad that they picked Eric Fisher, because he's just been, ever since his rookie season, I guess toward the end of his rookie season, he's just been a solid player. He got a lot of heat his rookie season just because number one overall draft pick. People
Hmm.
are always critical about that, but he earned the second contract, and he has just been a solid piece. And I love that you picked him.
I appreciate that. That means a lot that you love the pick. But I was thinking I need to get an Eric Fisher jersey hang up behind me in my backdrop. Just get a nice little Eric Fisher. I need to get some offensive lineman jerseys back there.
Heck
Maybe
yeah.
take down the Mahomes one and bring up an offensive line jersey. But so we'll move on to most improved player. I'll have an honorable mention on this one, but I think it's Dan Sorensen. I think Dan Sorensen gets my nod for most improved player. This is what I was talking about earlier. If you look at Dan Sorensen last year, he would have one good play for about every five bad plays, right? It seems like he's cut that down this year. It seems like it's about one good play for about every two or three bad plays. So he's
Mhm.
he's cutting it down. And I think that he has really improved, as you mentioned, leading the team in tackles is not something that you should, shake your fist at. It's something that's a good accomplishment. And my honorable mention at this position too is Anthony Hitchens as well. I think Anthony Hitchens has improved to be a solid middle linebacker for the Chiefs. But if you think about where Anthony Hitchens has come from, he came from the Cowboys, had to adjust to the Bob Sutton defense. That's one year. And second year with the Chiefs, he had to adjust to Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Now this is the
Yeah.
first year with that he's been able to have a system for more than 1 year. So he's finally getting comfortable in Steve Spagnuolo's system, and it's showing in his play.
Those are great picks right there. I went on the other side of the ball, and I'm going to say Nick Allegretti is my
Okay.
most improved player, because we didn't really get to see him outside of some special team snaps
That's true.
last year. And then he just got thrust into the role after the Mitchell Schwartz injury. And he played 693 offensive snaps this year and only 1 sack allowed.
Wow.
So that is really impressive to me for a sophomore season. I wasn't sure when I wrote the article about Nick Allegretti, I honestly didn't know what to write about. So that was kind of a tough one to do, but he really showed out this year. In the article, I actually said he would need about 2 or 3 injuries to be able to become a starter. And
Yep.
we had 2 or 3 injuries plus the COVID opt out. So I was really happy that he stepped up into the role and actually played well. And I think that he solidified himself as a member of the offensive line going forward.